something to think about.
Shalom and greetings. We welcome you to this week's Sabbath message. This week's Sabbath message is entitled, All were created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. All were created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. A subset also for his glory. All were created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. A subset also for his glory. Now we want it to be very plain that everyone living, as well as all that have ever lived, all were created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. I want this to be very clear, very plain. Understanding that the epitome of why all men and women were and are, get that, were and are created is for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. But, Scripture also identifies a subset was also, in addition to being created for his pleasure, created for Yahweh Elohim's glory. As is always our commitment, we do not expect or want you to just accept our word. We will allow Scripture to validate these statements. So let us read Revelation chapter 4, verse 11, and you can go to Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 7. So Revelation chapter 4, verse 11 reads, "Thou art worthy, O Lord, O Yahweh, thou art worthy, O Yahweh, to receive glory and honor and power. For thou," still speaking about Yahweh, "for thou hast created all things." Don't miss that. For thou, Yahweh Elohim, has created all things, and for thy pleasure they are and were created. So don't miss that for thy pleasure they are, so that means he's still creating things, and were created for his pleasure. Now we start with Revelation chapter 4:11 because it is the emphatic explanation of why all things were and still are created. It leaves no doubt. This is the succinct answer for any and all searching for their purpose or why they are existing on this earth. This is it. This is the succinct answer. Everything was and everything is created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. That's it. You don't have to wonder. You don't have to doubt. It is of paramount importance, though, that we understand, get this, that this passage of Scripture is not speaking about only those that are believers. I don't want you to miss this. This passage of Scripture, this is of paramount importance, is not speaking about only those that are believers, but every single creature. So, even those that profess not to believe in Yahweh Elohim, the Scripture is very clear that they also were and are created to please Yahweh Elohim. It is of paramount importance that we not add anything to the scripture, nor take anything away from the scripture, as instructed in both the Old and New Testament / covenant. In the Old Testament / covenant, in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2, Yahweh Elohim actually gives this commandment. So let us read. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 2 reads, ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish aught from it, that ye may keep the commandments of the Lord Yahweh your God Elohim, which I command you. So this is actually a commandment from the Most High, that you do not add anything to, nor take anything away from his word. There are those today, though, teaching that we no longer have to abide by or adhere to the Old Testament. There are actually people that claim to be spiritual leaders that are preaching and teaching that we no longer have to abide by or adhere to the Old Testament. This is ludicrous. But, this commandment of not taking anything away from, nor adding anything to his word, but this commandment travels. It continues into the New Testament / covenant. So let us read Revelation chapter 22, verses 18 through 19. Revelation chapter 22, verse 18 reads, for I testify unto every man that heareth the words of the prophecy of this book. If any man shall add unto these things, God, Elohiym, shall add unto him the plagues that are written in this book. Revelation chapter 22, verse 19. And in addition to, if any man shall take away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God, Elohiym, shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city and from the things which are written in this book. So Revelation chapter 4:11 shares that Yahweh Elohim created all things. This is a statement of fact. We read that in Revelation chapter 4, verse 11. But it then continued in Revelation chapter 4, verse 11, as to why Yahweh Elohim created all things. This is important to understand because it keeps us from adding anything to Scripture, such as, this means Yahweh Elohim's creations must then please Yahweh Elohim. No, we can't add that. We can't assume that. The scripture does not tell us that. So it is important that we understand the statement of fact given in Revelation chapter 4:11 that Yahweh Elohim created all things. And that we do not add anything to his scripture, such as, well, then this means Yahweh Elohim's creatures must then please Yahweh Elohim. As well as not taking or leaving anything out, such as Yahweh Elohim has given his creation free will to either obey or disobey his desires, instructions, and commandments. When we understand that's just a statement of fact, we just keep it as such. We don't add anything to, like, well, then they must have to obey him. And we don't leave anything out. Like, well, we know scripture tells us Yahweh Elohim has given his creation free will to either obey or disobey his desires, instructions, and commandments. So the scriptural fact is that Yahweh Elohim created all things for his pleasure. But also a scriptural fact is that Yahweh Elohim did not create all things to be programmed to just robotically adhere to his desires, instructions, and commandments. Both things can be right at the same time. Yahweh Elohim gave all his creation free will. And he did this to distinguish those that love him versus those that love themselves. Those that love Yahweh Elohim will be obedient to his desires, instructions, and commandments. And those that love themselves will be disobedient to Yahweh Elohim's desires, instructions, and commandments. Interestingly, this creates problematic relationships that the Most High created all for his pleasure. Not just the believers. He created all for his pleasure. This creates problematic relationships. For those that say they do not believe in Yahweh Elohim, their creator, and choose not to adhere to Yahweh Elohim's commandments, but as well as for those that claim to believe, profess to believe in Yahweh Elohim, their creator, but are disobedient to Yahweh Elohim's commandments. Only Yahweh Elohim knows how these tricky relationships turn out. But allow us to grow to understand. For those that know and believe in Yahweh Elohim and follow his commandments, their relationship is not awkward, but actually multifaceted. So let us now read Isaiah chapter 43, verse 7. Isaiah chapter 43, verse 7 reads, this is how it starts off. Even. So again, regardless of whatever's happening, even every single person that is called by my name. Then he goes on to say, for I have created him for my glory. Whoa. He didn't say he created him for his pleasure. For I have created him for my glory. I have formed him, yea, I have made him. Now, the scripture is a harmonious document and never contradicts itself. But please do not miss in this passage, Yahweh Elohim here is speaking in general as well as specifically. He's speaking in general as well as specifically. Notice, Yahweh Elohim first addresses the general. Even everybody, generally, even everyone that is called by my name. And then separates this with a colon. So that's one part. Before addressing the specific. Now, it is of paramount importance that we understand that Yahweh Elohim leads with the general. Everyone. And that the only requirement is to be called by the name of Yahweh Elohim. And let us be very clear, this equates, being called by the name of Yahweh Elohim, this equates to obedience. Next, after that colon, Yahweh Elohim specifically identifies Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel, that he created them for his pleasure. But don't miss that colon there. That's one part. The second part, but Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel are no different from everyone that is called by my name. Those that are obedient. So those that are called by his name and those that are obedient are also created for his glory. His glory. Multifaceted. Allow us to call out and understand that even everyone that is called by the name of Yahweh Elohim, as well as Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel, get this, are a subset of every creature that have been and are created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. Let me say this again so you can follow me. Title of our message today: all were created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, and some, a subset also for his glory. All were created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, a subset also for his glory. So let me read this again. Allow us to understand that even everyone that is called by the name of Yahweh Elohim, those that are obedient, as well as Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel, are a subset of every creature that have been and are created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. They're a subset. They're a part of it, but they're grouped together within there. So, even everyone that is called by the name of Yahweh Elohim, those that are obedient, as well as Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel, it is speaking about in Isaiah, are created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, as well as, in addition to, also created for Yahweh Elohim's glory. Multifaceted. We have addressed in previous teachings and episodes, messages, that this subset, these obedient ones and Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel, that this subset was never limited to only Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel, even from the very beginning. And because of the disobedience of the children of Israel, they were no longer automatically a part of the subset. Only the ecclesia made up the subset. Scripture shares, Yahweh Elohim validates this subset was never limited to only Jacob, Israel, and the children of Israel in Exodus chapter 12, verses 47 through 49. Yahweh Elohim is speaking unto the children of Israel, but does not exclude others that choose to be obedient to his commandments. Let us read. Exodus chapter 12, verse 47 reads, All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. Exodus chapter 12, verse 48. And in addition to, when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, shall walk with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. Let me read this again so we don't lose this. Exodus chapter 12 verse 47 reads, all the congregation of Israel shall keep it. This is speaking about the Passover. Exodus chapter 12 verse 48, and when a stranger shall sojourn with thee, when a stranger shall journey and travel with thee, and will keep the Passover to the Lord, and will keep the Passover, that stranger is going to keep the Passover too. All of Israel shall keep it, but this stranger, this sojourner that's traveling with you, he will also keep the Passover to the Lord Yahweh. But what he must do, like all of Israel had to do, let all his males be circumcised, and then let him come near and keep it. Get this. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. There is no difference. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. It's just being obedient to be circumcised. Being called by the name of Yahweh Elohiym equates to obedience. Exodus chapter 12 verse 49. It gets even deeper. This is the Most High, Yahweh Elohiym speaking. One law. One law. That's all. There are no other ones. It's only one law. Shall be to him that is homeborn, the children of Israel, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. It's just being about being obedient. Here, scripture validates that Yahweh Elohiym is addressing the children of Israel directly, but does not exclude anyone that chooses to adhere to his commandments. Further confirming, even everyone that is called by the name of Elohiym, those that are obedient, does not just represent the children of Israel. It does not only represent them. This is scripture corroborating scripture that everything was and is created for Yahweh Elohiym's pleasure, and there is a subset that also, in addition to, were and are created for Yahweh Elohiym's glory. This was covered in detail in the series Understanding Who is the Church, as well as other messages, episodes, and teachings. Understanding Who is the Church is available on the servant's website and YouTube channel. Both will be given at the end. Scripture also validates the transition from the children of Israel being automatically included as the subset that was also, in addition to, created for Yahweh Elohiym's glory. It was transitioned from them just automatically being a part of that to just the ecclesia, or those that are obedient to Yahweh Elohiym's commandments. Scripture validates this. Let us read one example found in 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 7 through 10. 1 Peter chapter 2 reads, chapter 2 verse 7 reads, unto you therefore which believe, he is precious. Colon. So let us just focus on this first. Unto you therefore which believe, he is precious. So these are the obedient ones. Okay, now we'll pick up after that colon. But unto them which be disobedient. That's how we know that these are the obedient ones. But unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders are disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 8. And a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. So he says you're being disobedient because you had been given what it was required to be obedient, whereunto also they were. They are no longer appointed. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. Now get this. Period. You had that colon after 1 Peter 2:7. Unto you therefore which believe he is precious. All this time after that, all this has been talking about the disobedient ones. We pick back up with the obedient ones in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Again, speaking about those that are obedient, but he's talking about them, allowing us to see that they weren't just the children of Israel, because he says here that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. You didn't even have the light that the children of Israel had because of the promise that was made with Abram, for Abram and Yahweh Elohiym, that his seed would have some light. He's talking about people that didn't even have light, that the Most High pulled them out of darkness. Let us continue. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 10. It goes on to say, which in time past were not even a people. So which in time past were not a people. We knew the children of Israel were a people. They were a nation. And when the Most High was with them, a nation to be feared. Here in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 10, it tells us that this is just the obedient ones, the ecclesia, which is just people that choose to be obedient, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, the people of Elohiym, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. In this passage of scripture, it distinguishes between those that believe Yeshua is precious, that are obedient to Yahweh Elohim's commandments, and those that are disobedient. Those that are disobedient, Yeshua, for those that are disobedient, get this, Yeshua is the rock that is offensive to those that spiritually hinder others because of their selfish use of liberty of grace. For those disobedient, Yeshua is that rock of offensive to those that spiritually hinder others because of their selfish use of liberty of grace. This is actually the meaning, the definition of stumbling block that was shown in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 8. When it says, and a stone of stumbling. That's what I mean, a stone of stumbling, not a stumbling block, but a stone of stumbling. That's actually the definition of a stone of stumbling in the Greek language. Those that are disobedient, their ideas are contrary to Yeshua's. They're the opposite of Yeshua's. This is the actual description of what just stumbling means in the Greek language. Those that are stumbling at the word. Remember, even though they are disobedient, remember this, even though they are disobedient, Yahweh Elohiym still created them for his pleasure. This was Yahweh Elohim's desire. Their free will led them to be disobedient. In contrast, those that are obedient are considered a chosen generation, a royal priesthood and holy nation, a peculiar people. Those that have obtained mercy from Yahweh Elohim. These are those that are of the subset of all created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, and also in addition to the multifaceted created for Yahweh Elohim's glory. Let me say this again. In contrast, those that are obedient are considered a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. Those that have obtained mercy from Yahweh Elohim, and these are those that are of the subset of all that were and are created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, but also in addition to created for Yahweh Elohim's glory. This was explained in length in the message episode, Christianity Stumbles at the Word, as well as other messages, episodes, and teachings. Christianity Stumbles at the Word is available on his servant's website and YouTube channel. Both will be given at the end. Now that we've moved from just knowing to understanding, all things were and are. So Yahweh Elohim still is creating. All things were and are created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. And that there is a subset. We've moved from just knowing to understanding, and that there is a subset that were and are, in addition to being created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, were and are created for his glory. With this understanding, let us go back to something we mentioned earlier. And that is the challenging relationship of those that do not believe in Yahweh Elohim and those that profess to believe but do not keep Yahweh Elohim's commandments. It may be surprising to some, but there is no difference scripturally between those that do not believe in Yahweh Elohim versus those that profess to believe but do not keep Yahweh Elohim's commandments. There is no difference. Both of these groups are considered as disobedient. With this understanding, it is important that we take time to show Scripture gives clear instruction of what it takes to please Yahweh Elohim. So, let us allow Scripture to give us a few examples in both the Old and New Testament / covenant. We're going to be reading from Exodus chapter 19, verses 5 and 6, Exodus chapter 20, verse 6, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 40, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 10, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9, the Gospel of John chapter 14, verses 14 through 15, the Gospel of John chapter 15, verse 10, 1 John chapter 3, verse 22, and Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. In Exodus chapter 19, verse 5, it reads, "Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. For all the earth is mine." Exodus 19, verse 6, "And ye shall be unto me as a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel." Exodus chapter 20, verse 6, "And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments." Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 40, "Thou shalt keep therefore his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee this day, that it may go well with thee and with thy children after thee, that thou mayest prolong thy days upon the earth, which the Lord Yahweh thy God Elohim giveth thee forever." Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 10, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord Yahweh thy God Elohim, he is God Elohim, the faithful God Elohim, which keepeth covenant and mercy. So he keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Just a few examples, Old Testament. So let us now examine some New Testament / covenant scriptural examples of what it takes to please Yahweh Elohim. The Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 14. And if ye shall ask anything in my name, I will do it. The Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 15. If ye love me, keep my commandments. The Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 10. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall abide in my love, even as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. 1 John chapter 3, verse 22. And whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight. Do those things that are pleasing in his sight. All things were created for his pleasure. Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Notice how he calls those people that are patient and keeping his commandments saints. Here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God of Elohim and the faith of Yeshua. These are just a few of the numerous examples given throughout both the Old and New Testament / covenant. Scripture gives ample examples of what is pleasing to Yahweh Elohim. It is up to all living to grow and move from just knowing to understanding exactly what Yahweh Elohim's expectations are. It's up to us. As we have highlighted, stick with me here. As we have highlighted, just being created to please Yahweh Elohim is not the goal. Let me say this again. I know Revelation chapter 4, verse 11 makes a factual statement. All things were created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure. But as we grow and move from understanding, I pray that we've highlighted just being created to please Yahweh Elohim. Just being created to please Yahweh Elohim is not the goal. We have identified that there are those that do not even believe in Yahweh Elohim that have been, are, and will be created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, as well as those that do not adhere to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, to study to show themselves approved, rightly dividing the word of truth, that have been, are, and will be created. Let us read 2 Timothy chapter 2:15. 2 Timothy 2:15 reads, study. This is a direct instruction, a direct commandment. Study to show thyself. Don't worry about anybody else. First, just study to show thyself approved, not unto man, but unto God, unto Elohim. A workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So just being created to please Yahweh Elohim is not the goal. Prayerfully, we have been able to discern the goal once we've been created is to be a part of the subset that was not only created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, but also in addition to for Yahweh Elohim's glory. I got to say that again. I pray prayerfully we have been able to discern the goal once we've been created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure is to be a part of the subset that was not only created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure, but also in addition to for Yahweh Elohim's glory. We have allowed Scripture to share that everyone is eligible to be a part of this subset. As are all things spiritually, it simply comes down to obedience or disobedience. As are all things spiritually, it simply comes down to obedience or disobedience. Let each one of us examine ourselves. Are we living our lives as simply just created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure? Let each one of us examine ourselves. Are we living our lives as simply just, I'm created for Yahweh Elohim's pleasure? Or are we actually taking advantage and living our lives obediently, pleasing Yahweh Elohim and bringing Yahweh Elohim glory? Let each one of us examine ourselves. Are we truly adhering to Yahweh Elohim's scriptural commandments, and being obedient, or the traditions of men and this secular world and being disobedient? As we've pointed out, there is a difference. Scripture identifies this difference as those that have eternal salvation and those that do not. I would like to invite you to continue to fellowship and worship the Sabbath with the Ecclesia next Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. In addition, please join the Ecclesia every Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for prayer. The link for both is provided on his servant's website. Something to think about. If you're seeking a blessing, be a blessing. If this message of something to think about has been a blessing, assist us with your time, talents, and finances in continuing to grow and move from just knowing to truly understanding the word of the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. Peace and blessings.
His servant encourages you and prays that you will continue with him on the journey of growing and moving from just knowing to understanding the word of the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. To support you on your journey, his servant offers the following resources. His servant email address. Please feel free to reach out to his servant at any time with any questions, concerns, suggestions, and/or comments. His servant website and his servant YouTube channel. You are encouraged to subscribe to be alerted of new content. In addition, his servant recommends reading or listening to the beginning of Scriptural Truth, Volume 1. It affords a strong beginning foundation in not just knowing, but understanding the Scripture.